Hey, welcome back to New Little Life. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm an IBCLC and breast pump expert. And here at New Little Life, we really focus on providing pumping support specifically for working moms. So I've been on YouTube for quite a while now. I think over 5 years at this point, which is pretty crazy. And we've been making a lot of videos. So I can actually go into my analytics and see what kind of things you guys are searching and how you found me. And one of the most common search terms I found when I was digging through some data is how to pump breast milk correctly. This is a really interesting question and a highly searched word. So today, that's the question we're going to answer. If you'll be pumping soon, or you are pumping, or you love pumping, make sure you subscribe to our channel because this is really all we talk about here. And I want to make sure that you get more videos and more help as they come out. Okay, I have some ideas for you on how to pump correctly. And if you've been on this channel before, you know I love a good list and it just makes things organized and easy for you to remember. So I think I have about 6 suggestions for you on how to pump breast milk correctly. There are more things than this that really affect pumping, but I tried to pick 6 kind of unique ones, maybe that you haven't heard before. So anyway, this is not everything that it takes to pump correctly, but some things where I see some major hangups from people that I work with and that reach out to me. So the first one is creating a pumping schedule. And I like to call this a workable pumping schedule because just having a pumping schedule, which you can find on Pinterest, that says pump every 2 to 3 hours around the clock and you're good to go, is not always realistic and not always what happens in real life. So I actually have done a video on pumping schedules I found on Pinterest and why they may or may not be a good idea. I'll put that video here and in the description for you. But it's really vital to have a workable pumping schedule and to know how to be flexible in that schedule, because I can guarantee that something will come up and things will change. Something's going to force you to adjust. And if you are not confident in how to do that, it can just cause a disaster. What we don't want to see is like the downward spiral of death, where you start skipping some sessions or they're shorter than they, should be. And then your supply goes down a little bit and then you start get frustrated and stressed. And then we're not having enough milk for your baby. So you're having to supplement, which brings down the milk supply even lower. And it's just like this downward spiral until we have to end earlier than we wanted. And even if you do make it across that finish line, you're like dragging your broken, tired body and self across there. And it hurts my heart to think of moms doing that. So really creating a workable pumping schedule and knowing how to adjust is key. The second aspect of pumping correctly is getting an appropriate flange size. And I know you've probably heard this before if you've been in the pumping world for a little bit. If this is the first time you're hearing about this, we have another video too, all explaining flange sizing, kind of the basics of that and what it is. But this is a really important piece of pumping. So your pump is just one piece. And this is the question that a lot of people come to me with. It's like, what is the best breast pump? And we have a Facebook group to help you figure out reviews and talk about that. But the pump is only half of the equation, right? You can have a great pump and a poor flange size, and it's not going to be ideal. You can also have a mediocre pump or a really cheap pump. If you can nail that flange size and the flange piece and the accessories that you're using there are like dynamite for your breast and nipple, we can make it work. Having an appropriate flange size is key. Now, I do want to say this. You can pump milk with a flange that is too big. And a lot of moms are doing this. I did this for my first time, but it is not efficient. And you are almost certainly leaving milk behind and or having extremely long pumping times. So this really is a key aspect to getting pumping working right. And it's a really important piece. A lot of times, even moms in my coaching program who have invested a lot of money to be there and have gone through the education and have me in their back pocket, some of them take longer than they should to try a new size because it's working fine. It's going okay, As soon as I can gently guide them into trying a more appropriate size, I'm like, why wasn't I doing this earlier? Now I'm getting my extra half an ounce that I needed to feel really comfortable, and I'm pumping shorter amount of time and things are just going smoother. Why did I wait so long? Why was I happy with this mediocre result? And I'm like, I don't know. I tried to tell you. We're always happy when they find it eventually. And so this is a really important piece that you just have to get right. Like I said, I do this a lot with members of my program. I help them through it. I teach them everything they need to know about that. So if you want that personalized support, you can schedule a call with us down below and see what it's like to join our coaching program. We'd love to have you. So number 3 aspect of pumping correctly is really mastering your letdowns. Now, the milk ejection reflex, or a letdown, is a complex thing. And I have several other videos on talking about letdowns. And this is something that we focus on inside of our program too, is only about half of your milk is released with your first letdown. And with a breast pump, getting letdowns effectively is a lot more conscious work for the most part. Where if you have a baby at the breast, the baby's kind of just doing that. If the milk is slowing down and they want more, they can adjust in real time without you, the mother, doing anything, really. They're going to pick up their sucking. They're going to change back to something that is more indicative of a letdown. You're also holding a warm and beautiful, cuddly baby, which makes for hormones that play well with releasing milk. When you have a cold, lifeless pump on your breast, this robot really has to be told what to do. It doesn't have any communication with the breast. You have to manually do it. And it's definitely not as naturally conducive as a baby to getting those hormones flowing. We have to have fast letdowns. We can't be taking 5, 6, 7 minutes to initiate a letdown. You don't have time for that, especially as a working mom, okay? We don't have time for that. And we have to be getting multiple letdowns every session. Again, these cannot be happening at the 25-minute mark where you're getting your second letdown. Now you got to pump through that one too. And then a third is out of the question at that point. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to make this fast and efficient. I know I say those words a lot on this channel, but that, honestly, efficiency is my love language. And it brings me joy and happiness, things that are efficient in all aspects of my life. There's a little something, I don't know if you knew that about me, but I love to pass that along too. Fast and efficient, okay? I can't promise you 10-minute pumping sessions. Like, that's probably not realistic, but our goal is to make them efficient. And you would be surprised at how much time moms can shave off their pumping session when they maximize their letdowns and use them appropriately. That was a long-winded way to say letdowns are important. Okay, number 4 is optimizing your pump settings. And you may or may not know the basics of a breast pump, but a lot of them have 2 modes, a stimulation mode and an expression mode. Stimulation mode is the one we use at the beginning. It's a little bit faster, not as strong suction-wise to initiate a letdown. Expression mode is a longer, more stronger pull that we use to kind of extract the milk. And you can switch back and forth between those. A baby certainly does that when they're suckling at the breast. That's important, right? But that's like the very basic level of pump settings that we need to know. Especially if you're combining feeding at the breast and pumping, this gets even more tricky because your breasts can kind of get conditioned to let down and release milk to a certain stimuli. And if that's a baby, that's awesome. Like, that's how biology intended it, right? But with a breast pump, it's a little bit more manual. And if you're switching back and forth between baby pump, you know, it can be a little confusing for your signals and stuff. And you will learn how to do that and your body will respond, right? But especially if you start switching between like multiple pumps with different suction patterns and different strengths, all of these, level 2 on this is not the same as level 2 on this, right? Not only in suction strength, but also in the patterns that are happening in there, the speeds at which this is going. Like, it's a kind of a complex thing. So if you're just using a baby and a pump, a lot of times it's fairly simple, but anytime you're introducing even more than that, I say fairly simple, it's not simple at all, but that would be like the simplest way to combine those things. Anyway, when you start adding in multiple pumps, like a lot of working moms, they have a pump that they know works for them efficiently. And then they also have a wearable pump or a portable pump or something. And they're trying to like do this combination. It can get difficult. So really optimizing your settings in a way that works for you and what you're used to and what your baby normally does. Like, it can be a complex but actually really fun thing to try and optimize. I get to test a lot of breast pumps. We have a device sitting right over there in my office where we test breast pumps and get data. And I get to share all of that information in some super easy and efficient spreadsheets with members in my program because I love to do that. So anyway, kind of one of those side perks about working with me directly, but it's fun. I love comparing them between there, and it is an important part of pumping correctly, really optimizing the settings, not only on the pump that you're using, but for you specifically. Okay, number 5 is pumping techniques, really mastering the things that are beyond the pump. So I think when I went back to work for the first time, and I think a lot of moms feel this way, especially when we talk to them about, joining our program or even just like YouTube comments and things like that. I think kind of the assumption is you get a really good breast pump, you slap it on, and it works. Like you just go, takes milk out, you move on, like you get your schedule, got to pump your schedule and you're good. But pumping is a lot more than just plug and play. There's a lot that goes into it. And this is an important part of pumping. I think we kind of expect the norm to be that you just put it on. You can like keep working. You can do whatever you need to do. You take it off, you move on, you come back in 3 hours, do it again. But there are a lot of techniques that can go into pumping that are actually a pretty normal part of pumping. Again, this is a lifeless, cold robot. And we're trying to make it do things that a warm, soft, cuddly baby usually does. Even if you've never fed at the breast, like this is kind of just like biology, right? Really figuring out what kind of techniques you need to put on top of the pump to help with that can be great. There's a lot of supplies and accessories on the market right now. I think you could go hundreds and thousands of dollars into this rabbit hole if you really wanted to, trying all the products and things, but really figuring out what works for you first is the best way to do that. And then you can kind of see where you want to spend your money. I like to invest my money in things that I know will work. And so kind of figuring some of those things out and really optimizing that milk supply can be the difference between you being a little bit short in what you're pumping for your little one and hitting what they actually need and getting out what is actually there. So a lot of pumping techniques to explore there and an important part of pumping. Okay, number 6, we've made it there. Again, there are way more than are on this list, but I just kind of picked out 6 ones that I see pretty often. And this last one is the mental and emotional parts of pumping. Really understanding how stress and emotions affect not only your milk supply. I know we hear that a lot, like stress can be bad for your milk supply, and that is true. But it can also affect a lot of other things like your ability to get letdowns. If you are in an uncomfortable place or you're uncertain or you're anxious or you're at work, right? It can be really hard to get in a place where you can have oxytocin flow and let the milk go, right? This is not uncommon. And another reason why, we recommend, looking at photos of your baby or trying to take yourself back to a more relaxing place so that your hormones can work like they're supposed to, And I don't know, there's so much more to pumping than the logistics and the pump and all of these things. The emotional and mental aspects of pumping are super real. And a lot of the moms that I talk to and work with have a 1-year goal, right? So we want to make it that first year. You're working, so your goals are realistic, and maybe we want to keep breastfeeding longer than that, but we're going to pump for a year so we don't have to give formula. And then, we're going to have a party and we're going to burn the pumping bras and smash the pump, stuff like that, whatever. But making it to that year mark is really challenging. And I see probably the most common hard spot for me with moms that I work with inside my program is like the 6 to 8 month mark, 6 to 9 months, where you've already been doing this for a while and you've worked really hard to get where you're at, and stuff becomes uncertain once you start introducing solid foods too. Like, what is your milk supply supposed to do? How much are you supposed to keep feeding your baby? Things like that. But also, you can see the end goal, but it's still really far away. It feels hard. And having someone to support you through that, whether it's a mom friend or a community of other working moms, an expert like me and my team, we can be there to support you through that too. It's not just like a nice to have. Like, you need this. You need, first of all, to master the logistics and all of the stuff that comes with pumping like that. But you need support and motivation and long-term guidance for when things change. And they will change. It's not going to be the same. And so it's part of pumping correctly, finding support and managing your mental and emotional health on top of all of the other million things that you're doing. I hate to even say stuff like that because I'm a mom of 3 myself. I went back to work after my first, and it was freaking hard. It was. And I didn't do as well as I wanted. And I've talked about that on the channel before. I'll put a video here if you want more about that. But man, I know it's asking a lot, and I know this is complicated, and every situation is a little bit different. So if you want a step-by-step plan on how to do this, if you want a coach with you there long-term, multiple coaches, actually, multiple people, including myself, waiting inside this program to support you. You probably can piece it together and like figure it out and get there eventually. But if you're the kind of person that would rather just invest in some help, get it all laid out, questions answered right away, move on with your life and do the job that you need to do while you're still pumping fast and efficiently so you can meet those breastfeeding goals too, then reach out. That's what we do. You can schedule a call with us and learn a little bit more down below. I hope that kind of helped give you some ideas on how to pump breast milk correctly, which is apparently a very searched term from all of you. So there's some ideas. I did not cover everything. So can you let me know in the comments what other things have worked for you? What are the other things that are important? Even just while I was talking, I thought of several more things that should have been on the list, but this was a very good start. But comment down below. I'd love to hear from you and I love to connect with you there. Hopefully we can talk more soon. But in the meantime, happy pumping.